Please select destination.
Hello, and welcome InGame. I'm mostly an at-home gamer. This here is where I spend most of my time, whether it's WoW over there or the Xbox and PS3 type stuff here. When it comes to having a way of doing things, I'm pretty much used to having a controller in my hand. That controller being either the Xbox or PS3 unit or the keyboard mouse G13 combination for WoW on the Mac. I'm also used to a certain level of definition in my environments, although which hasn't really been available on a portable device simply because of the size of the screen and the number of pixels which it's been possible to squeeze onto that space at a reasonable cost. I have a couple of DSs and a PSP on the shelf, all flat, simply because they don't do it for me in the way the consoles do. Of course that's changed now, hasn't it? Firstly, we've this bad boy. I got an original iPad from the US when they were launched and simply weren't available in the UK. I had to have one and I haven't looked back since. I didn't go for the iPad 2 because my original version still did everything I wanted it to, but I did buy a new iPad this year. The reason? Simply the screen, which is actually gorgeous to use. Can't fault it at all. But of course we also have its little brother, the iPhone 4 and 4S. Sharing that 326 pixels per inch retina display of the iPad, the graphics are also super sweet to look at. Next, we have the PS Vita. This has a lower resolution than the iDevices, but has a much higher graphics processing speed, 133 million polygons per second compared to the 4S's 70 to 80 million, for example. Yes, I know there's also the 3DS, and it's new and special, but I'm afraid I can't include it here on my list simply because the screen is just too low spec to be compared to the others, and the 3D element doesn't float my boat. Yes, I know there are people who know, have them, and love them, including some of the colleagues here at Ready Up, but it's just not for me, I'm afraid. Playing games on the iPad is visually as good as playing them on the consoles. Actually, it's better because there are more and finer pixels on the iPad, that retina display, remember. Yes, it gets hot when you're making the graphics processing work, and yes, that does impact battery life too. But this isn't a dedicated gaming device. It's a device which does gaming too, and for me it does it pretty well. My problems with the iPad and the iPhone's gaming environments are the controls, because there aren't any. You can move the things around and you could make gestures on the screen, but those things compromise my experience. When I'm moving the iPad around to steer a car in racing games, that compromises my visuals. Imagine playing a racing game on your Xbox and the TV turning on its side as you go around the corners. It's just not right. Touchscreen gestures are better, but that means I've got my big fat fingers all over the screens, and as I can't see through my big fat fingers, once again I'm visually compromised. This is bad enough on the iPad. On the iPhone screen, it's all but obscured. The Vita then must be the place to go. It does have the 6-axis controls, yes, but it also has the twin analog sticks and buttons that my game-playing muscle memory cries out for. Well, yes, perhaps so, but there's one other thing. It's about money. I'm not usually that bothered with cost, especially about tech. I'll usually just get it and work out the pennies later on. It's actually been said I have no concept of money, just what I can get with it. It actually isn't true. I do know about money. You can't run your own business and not. But I rather place a value on things than a cost, and this is where the Vita argument falls flat for me. I have an iPad and an iPhone anyway. I use them for other things, including work. So the Vita would be somewhat a duplication. Not the first, I'll admit, but there's more. Another element in this equation is the games themselves. I can get a very playable game on the iDevices for a tenner and usually much less. Any decent game for the Vita is going to cost me 30 to 35 quid. Plus I'm going to need to buy a memory card or two and a case and all the other bobbins that goes along with owning one of those things. It's this side of things which makes me shy about dropping the 200 notes or thereabouts to get one. Yes, I do desire the rear touch controls and the analog sticks and the buttons and everything else that goes along with it. But for the amount of time I spend on the move and gaming, I just can't get over the way that the iPad and to a lesser extent my iPhone have changed my perspective on things. There are more than a few Vitas, whatever, out there on eBay for 160, 170 quid, and I am tempted, but I'm not tempted enough. So for now I'll be tilting my head to one side and smearing the screen of my iPad, but I'll also be feeling good that the fun I'm having hasn't cost me the earth, and I won't have any guilty feelings about not packing another piece of tech when I'm sorting out my carry-on luggage. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.